Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next episode of Overwatch.
The two to the fight will not be denied.
Hi, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Made in Esports. Today, we're going to give a quick little breakdown on the
Melee?
Melee? I can't pronounce that word. Yeah, I don't know why I keep messing that up. Anyways, we're going to give our quick little thoughts on the May tournament that went on for the Overwatch League, as well as give some updates, because if you guys haven't heard, if you're an Overwatch League fan, you must be living under a rock, because Big Boss Pine is back in the league.
Pine.
Which personally, I mean, aside from the Halo of Thoughts tweet, like, had that not been there, I would have said you're crazy if you think Pine's coming back. As well as I believe Drijo got signed to Paris Eternal. So we have some transactions that we can talk about, as well as the overall thing. So with that out of the way, guys, again, before we jump into this, please smash that like button as absolute hard as you can. Let us know what you think down below in terms of, did the May tournament go the way that you thought it was going to go? Were you as surprised as I was that Dallas was actually going to come out on top? As well as, what are your thoughts on Pine coming back, the boss himself? With that out of the way, let's just jump right into things. So,
let's.
Chris?
Sorry. Wow.
I was going to throw it to you. I was going to say.
You're going to throw it over to me. I
me
mishandled that ball you just threw over.
I know, you dropped it.
I dropped it hard. Yeah, let's talk about the main melee here. And like we said in the last one in our predictions, this was a really interesting main melee because a lot of our predictions were thrown on their heads, and this was one of the first times this season, or the first time of the season, we saw a mix of APAC versus NA. And I'll be the first one to say this right now. I thought APAC would be better than they did.
Yeah, which is funny because I actually had the position that NA was going to be the superior region. I said that all year. I said that last year. I said that APAC was being a little bit overrated. I said that again this year, that I thought NA was going to be the better region long term. My process and the reason I picked the APAC teams was I thought that we saw the best APAC teams get through. Right? Shanghai and Chengdu. And obviously you could argue, should Seoul have been it? Should Philly have been there? But there's still, I think both those teams are in that top tier echelon of teams that I expected to make it from APAC, whereas I did not expect Florida to make it off the beginning, especially how they looked in their first few games of the season. And I definitely did not expect, Dallas Field without a hit scan to go as far as they did. So the reason that I ended up predicting the APAC region was because I thought the two teams that come out of NA were not indicative of the best two teams in NA. Very clearly, I was wrong, and I have no problem saying that. Hastro, I apologize. This is a apology to Hastro because I doubted this team. To be fair, once they lost their hit scan, which I still give myself a little bit of credit for, but yeah, the team coordination has blown me away. Rush came on there. He said, even if it's Tracer, it doesn't matter. I'm good enough. Our coaching staff's good enough. Our players are good enough. We'll find a way to work around it. We are going to be the meta. I thought he was kind of being a little bit too overconfident in himself, and he was not. He showed everybody exactly that Dallas, quote unquote, defined the meta. They played some very interesting strategies. They looked extremely talented while doing it, and they were able to get the championship. So good for them. Fearless, I was worried that maybe he was just not a monkey one trip, but that would be his best hero, and that his Ryan and maybe some of his other compositions wouldn't look as good. I was wrong. Fearless is like the best main tank in the world. Monkey and Reinhardt, the guy absolutely pounds, and he is the anime protagonist of the league, and good for him. Honda, insane. The whole team, really good.
Really good. Analysis done. Bye. Take a hike. No, just kidding. Okay, yeah, I want to talk about a couple things about as Florida and Chengdu just from a really high level. From my standpoint, I think Florida played decently well. I think their rush really improved during this May melee compared to before. But I think that this sort of May melee, not May melee. Florida to me is a team that's good at a lot of different comps, but not great at a single comp. And I think that this meta that we're in right now didn't favor them well for that. Even though they still got a top four, still did an amazing job. They could have gone farther, I think, if there wasn't so many viable comps.
See, it's funny. I almost completely disagree with you. I think this almost helped them get as far as they did because of the fact that they were able to, there were teams that were excellent at double bubble, but maybe struggled more on rush, and you especially saw this versus Washington, right? But they were able to beat them on the rush comps, as well as Hang and steal some double bubble stuff. And so I felt like this kind of helped the fact that they were sort of well-rounded in this regard. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. But I do agree that their rush was a lot more impressive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, sorry. All I was trying to say is that I feel like you can kind of make comps work. Like a classic example is Dallas. You can make comps
I
work
agree.
if in lots of situations, even if the map doesn't necessarily favor it. And so if you have a team that's really, really good at a certain comp and can make it work, you're gonna beat a team that's better, that's mediocre at that comp, but you know, is better at a variety of different ones.
Yeah.
So I think with their flexibility, it's going to be able to play well in the long run when we have different hero pools and different metas. But for this time, it let them down a little bit.
Yeah, Florida's
And
a good team, and I just want to say I think I agree with your point in terms of why they didn't like get top 2 in this tournament or win the tournament. I was more saying it helped.
Yeah,
Excuse me, it helped them get here because I do agree that that's why they end up losing. Is because they couldn't compete with Shanghai's double bubble or Dallas's rush. Chengdu was a team that kind of disappointed me. I thought we'd actually see a better performance. So while Florida and Dallas both really impressed me, Chengdu Hunters I think have some room to improve. Again, relatively new roster, so I think that they will figure some things out. In the end, like at the end of the day, them getting this far, I think was an impressive feat for that team, especially with how how top heavy APAC is and how elite those top 4 teams are. With that being said, obviously I was pretty surprised that Florida was able to come out on top. And then my final thoughts is oh yeah, you go. Actually, give me your chain of thoughts.
on Chengdu, I think that they're a good team, but I think they got figured out.
A little bit.
They and a really classic example of this is on Lijiang Tower, I believe, where BQB's Sambo is just like getting Gaio's ball every single time.
Yeah.
And they really spent way too much time and weren't switching just because of how rigid their comp structure was. So I feel like Chengdu, it's not that they're playing poorly, it's just I think they didn't have enough strategies and have enough flexibility figured out beforehand, and they got figured out.
Yep. I agree. Again, they got a lot of talent on that roster. Give them enough time to really adjust, and I think they will be able to come back better.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit surprised. And Shanghai, Fate had a little bit of a tough tournament, but overall, I think that roster is what I expected. I expected them to win, and they didn't, but they still looked pretty good throughout the tournament. I think they're going to be a team that continues to integrate Fate. You'll start to see them improve more and more. And assuming Fate can get things under his belt, which I think he will, still pretty good tank. I still think that this team is in the upper echelon and should be a team to watch out for every single tournament.
Yeah, exactly. And just to touch on the Dragon, fucking Shanghai versus Dallas game.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain's kind of fugazi right now. I also want to talk about Fate and Fearless and those two people or those two individuals in the game as well. We can definitely not deny the fact that Fearless played a lot better than Fate. And Fate, didn't make a decent amount more mistakes than he should have in a finals game. But I will say that the whole Dallas strategy is built around supporting Fate. So he is naturally going to look better because he gets a lot more resources. Fearless, sorry. The Dragon strategy was more around disrupting other teams and wasn't centered around supporting Fate.
Yeah.
He played more of a supportive role and just creating a little bit of space and creating chaos in order to enable other players like Lip to pop off.
Yep.
And I just think that even though Fate was making mistakes, that kind of leads him to not look as impressive as Fearless does. But I think that what led Dallas to be able to really win out was the fact that they could just execute their strategy a little bit better. It's all about pacing, right? Dallas was really good at being able to end a team fight before Dragons could get enough value out of disrupting Dallas's backline.
Yeah.
And that's what I think won it. I think it was more of a behind the scenes strategy standpoint that won it for Dallas versus Dragons.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that, again, Fearless was better than Fate, but that doesn't mean Fate's bad. I think Fearless at this point looks like the best main tank in the league. We're going to compare Fate to maybe some of his other opposition, right? Some more like a fairer comparison as opposed to, again, Fearless, who right now looks like the best in the game. So I think Fate's going to bounce back. He's been consistent in this league for a long time, so I expect him to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And just to touch on, I think we wanted to touch on pickup of Pine, right?
Yeah, Pine and Drujo, because Pine obviously goes to Well, I mean, I guess technically Florida re-signed Hotba and Toby, but like that doesn't change anything. Their team's gonna pretty much look the same. If anything, I'm just good for them. Unfortunately for Funny Astro and Poco, hopefully they can figure that visa situation out. But obviously Pine gets signed to Dallas Fuel, so they now have a hit scan. One of the last people I expected. Listen, I think storyline, narrative-wise, this is a great signing. The fans are very excited. I'm very excited. And if any team can make it work, it's obviously Dallas, right? Like they've shown that they can win even without a hit scan in a McCree Tracer meta, right? So I do expect us maybe not to see a lot of Pine, because I do think he'd be that McCree Widow specialist. But if any team could show that they can again turn a situation around and just really rely on the teamwork and a great coaching staff and pull out some victories, it's Dallas. If you're a hit scan player and maybe your game sense isn't fully up to par, but your mechanics are there and you need some space created for you, is there a better tank line to have in front of you than Fearless and Hanben? There's not. So I'm pretty pessimistic about this pickup overall. I do think that people who are expecting pessimistic. I think that people who are expecting Pine to work. So maybe pessimistic is not the right word. Anyways, I think people who are expecting Pine to like come in there and pop off like he did in season 1, I think are drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, guys. As much as I want to see it, I feel like that is very much not what your logical take should be, right? I think it is far more likely that Pine kind of goes in there and is a bust, as opposed to him going in there and exceeding and elevating Dallas. The point I'm trying to make though is if there was a team that could make it work, it's Dallas, right? If it was like, oh, Pine just got signed to Toronto, I'd be like, what? You know what I mean? Or if it was like, Pine just got picked up, he's like the new Vancouver Titans, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a horrible move.
Yeah.
But because it's Dallas and they've shown they can win, and maybe they just need, again, that Widowmaker, and because they have such a good coaching staff and a good team culture around him, I think it could actually maybe work.
Yeah, just remember, Pine, I think, was one of those guys who, just to follow the kind of saying, he died before people could see him become a villain, i.e. like he kind of stopped his career at the point where everybody was still really hyped about him and didn't give him the couple seasons to, form,
potentially fall off. It was goats too, to be fair. Yeah. Hey, he can come in here and overexceed expectations. I feel like that's very unlikely. And I don't know if as many people are aware of how unlikely that is. But man, I want it to happen so bad. So this is not me like knocking the guy by any stretch of the imagination. I really want this to work out. I just have to be like realistic here.
Yeah, I understand that. And just on who's Matt? I keep on forgetting this other player.
Dredro, I think. Yeah,
Dredro
from European Contenders.
So Spencer, Dredro, is he gonna make Paris a top contender,
or
even a mid-table team?
I don't. How much does he move the needle there? It's hard to say. Probably not much, right? I still think Paris will be in that bottom 3, bottom 4 echelon. But I do think, Dredro's got some talent. He comes in here from New Kings. They just won the most recent European Contenders tournament, right? Just turned 18. I've seen him play before. Not like a ton of VODs, but he's looked good while I've seen him play. So I'm very excited for that possibility, and seeing another young, up-and-coming main support in the league is always very exciting, especially coming off of, again, a first-place finish at the most recent European Contenders. I think it's also a good sign for just European Contenders as a whole, that their promotions are happening. And I do think that Neptune struggled at moments. I'm sure his leadership was great. I'm sure his shot calling was great. But I do think there was moments when you watched Paris and Neptune was dying first, or maybe not getting beaten time. So I think there's a very realistic possibility that this improves Paris. The question becomes, is it enough? The answer being probably not. But I'm excited. So
yeah, I understand that. I think that they may be making a couple less mistakes, and that may move the needle a little bit, but not by a whole lot. Okay, cool. Well, guys, it's a quick episode today. Yeah. Really wanted to cover that stuff. We're in a week off, so we're in a Overwatch drought right now, but I cannot wait for Toronto to get back on the stage and play.
Yeah, me either, guys. And again, I believe the week after is when games start. So thank you guys for watching. As always, leave likes, comments, all that fun stuff down below. Thank you for watching, and enjoy.
And thank you for watching.
And